Hey guys, Lethal Leslie here, and today we're going to be doing the best possible HK that you can make in Escape From Tarkov. Not a cheap weapon if you want to build one of these, but one of the better weapons on the game when it comes to the AR section. Anyway, it's a weapon a lot of people use. Personally, I wouldn't quite rate it as high as the M4A one, but it is up there as one of the better ARs. So I've just opened this up so you can have a little look here in case you want to try and fast build it using the items here in case you know them already. You can just go and search a lot of these up and build it really fast. It's a very expensive weapon and you can dumb down some of the parts to make them a little bit cheaper. For example, if we were going to talk about the Foregrip here, this Foregrip does 4 economics and -4 recoil, and you can get some that do very close to this for a fraction of the price, with this being a 50k item. Anyway, with that being said, hopefully that's enough for you there, guys. You can see what the gun looks like. We're going to dismantle it and we're going to build it up now from scratch. Starting off with the HK itself, we're going to check the price on that, and it currently goes for around 30k, absolutely bare on the market. So already it's not the cheapest gun to start with, starting off at 30k. And the next thing we're going to add is going to be the pistol grip. Now this is the best, but also the most expensive pistol grip on the game. It's going to do plus 18 aerodynamics for the gun, and on the market it comes in at around 30,000 or 25 if you have mechanic level 3, and it's currently in stock. So let's chuck that on the gun and move on to the next piece. We're going to get the upper next, and this is the 416A5 upper. And on the market, this currently goes for around 10 to 15k. But what's nice about this item is if you have a HK, it will already have this on it because it's the only option for the HK when it comes to this part. So if you've already got a HK that you're going to do up that isn't from scratch, you will already have this part, which is quite cool. So we'll chuck that on the gun now. And next up, we're going to move on to the barrel here. And we're going for a different barrel than you get with the weapon. It's the 20-inch barrel. There are 2 options for the barrel you can get. And this one does -12 on the recoil, +3 on the muzzle velocity, and -13 on the aerodynamics. I wouldn't worry too much about the aerodynamics because barrels do always have a negative effect due to the weight. So this is a really good barrel really with -12 recoil on it. And the price of this comes in at around 41,000. There we go, we've just had something finish in the hideout there. 41,000 for this anyway, a very expensive barrel, no doubt about that. And we'll chuck that on the weapon. We're going to have to move it a little bit, otherwise it's not going to fit. There we go, fantastic. One thing I didn't mention actually was the effects of the upper receiver, and you can see it does +6 on the aerodynamics, just in case you were wondering. I'm sure you would have noticed it when I had it up anyway. So we're going to add the stock next, and this is a 2-part with the tube and the stock itself. Starting off with the tube, this is going to do -3 on the recoil, so it does have a nice positive effect. And as for the price on this, it is relatively cheap, or really cheap I think, coming in at around 5k or 8k if you do not have the dealer. And as for the stock, this is the best available stock for this weapon. It does -39 recoil and +3 aerodynamics. You can get some that do a lot more aerodynamics and less recoil depending on what you want for your gun. But for me and for recoil purposes, this is definitely the best option for the HK. Now this does not come in cheap at all. Unfortunately, if we filter by price, you can see it's coming in right now at around 40,000 rubles, which adds a massive chunk to the weapon again. So we'll stick these together anyway and chuck them on the HK. And next up, we're going to add this handguard here. This for me is the best choice when it comes to the handguard. There are some that are quite comparable, do a little bit more recoil but a lot less aerodynamics, for example, and it just depends really what you want from your weapon. But with 11 aerodynamics and another -3 on the recoil, I do think this is the best choice when it comes to the handguard for the HK. Now we're going to add a couple of little parts here just to make the gun functional, starting off with the reporter charging handle for the AR. Now this actually comes in at a little bit more expensive than some of the other things. If you search, this is around 10k, and it does have a better effect than the other one that comes as standard on the weapon. So it's always worth changing this, and you get a +2 aerodynamics by choosing this over the other one that is available. The other one does +1, the one that comes standard with the weapon, and this one obviously does a +3, which is great. And it's about double the price, so not bad at all. And then you have the gas block here, and this is the only gas block you can pick, so there's no problem knowing which one is best. And this again comes standard with the weapon, and that should make the weapon functional, and it does. Fantastic. Next up, we're going to add the foregrip, and again, this is 2-part. We're going to need the mount for the foregrip and obviously the foregrip itself. You see this foregrip in so much of my videos because it is the best, but it is really expensive, and there are cheaper options out there that do relatively good on the aerodynamics and recoil without you having to pay the 50k price tag. But obviously, we're doing the best build here, so we're going to be using this one again. The RK1 this is Foregrip, and it's the one that pulls out to the left as well, so it looks really sweet when it's on the weapon. And as for the mount, this is the mount you're going to want, the 4.1 inch guide. This is extremely cheap starting off, coming in at around 1.6k if you wanted it, 3k sometimes if they are not available by the trader. Maybe that other one at 1.6 is gone. Yeah, there you go. You can see it comes in at around 3k or 1.6 if they're available with the trader. And let's quickly have a look at the price of the Foregrip as well, coming in at around 50k of course, and then 45 if you have the trader available. Right now I do not have this available, so I would have to pay the premium price of 50. So we'll put these together and we will chuck them on the weapon. Next up, we're going to add the Muzzle Brake, and this for me is the best Muzzle Brake available for the HK. It's the Boltec ST. It does +3 on accuracy, -11 on recoil, and +1 on muzzle velocity. So a lot of positives for the weapon there. And as for the price on this, it's not cheap. It's currently coming in at 36k, but they do pop up for a lot cheaper than that. You can see if you were to buy it off the dealers, it would be coming in at around 15k. You can see I don't even have the mechanic level 3 available right now. It's locked for some reason. I do not know why. But if you did buy it off the dealer, it'd be more than half the price. And you can pick it up for much cheaper than this at different times in the day when they do get listed. Maybe if we refresh now. No, nothing at the moment. So you can see they go extremely expensive as well. There are some compatible ones that are much cheaper as well that do not have much of a negative effect in comparison to this one. So you could go and pick yourself up a cheaper one if that's what you wanted to do as well. So we'll chuck that on the gun now, and next up we are going to add the scope. Now this is a funny little scope, and when it comes to scope I always say this, that it just depends what you want on your weapon or what scope you prefer, because each scope is different for different situations, and it just depends what you want with your gun. Do you want close range? Do you want long distance? Do you want a mix of both, obviously, which we get with this scope? Now, this is a funny old scope in the way that you need to add a scope to a scope with it. I've made the mistake a couple of times recently when I put this scope on a weapon and been like, why can't I switch scope? I want to aim down the little scope on top, and that is because you do need to add another scope to this scope. As standard, it looks like it's a hybrid, but in fact it's a scope with a mount on top for the other scope, which is this scope right here. And if you grab this scope and stick it on top, you can see it has a slight change, and then that's what the scope looks like afterwards, which is pretty cool. I think that you can add another scope to it. Moving into the price anyway, these are quite expensive. It's 58k for this, but don't forget that doesn't include this scope as well. So we're looking at 58k plus this one on top, making it around the 75k mark for the two scopes. And we're going to put them on the weapon. Again, you do not need to use this. It just depends if that's what you want on your particular weapon. Last but not least, we have the magazine and the bullets. If we unload the ammo we're using is M995. The best ammo in its category, no doubt about it. So if you can afford it, definitely worth picking up. And as for the magazine itself, we've gone for the battle mag. And the reason I've gone for this is because this is the mag that does the best on load, unload, modified speed. So it's a 30 clip instead of one of the bigger clips that give massive negatives to the gun. You get massive negatives in load speed, you get massive negatives in aerodynamics and things like that. And that's the reason, personally, I like to go for 30 clips. They're my favourites. But if you wanted to go for the 60, there are 60s available for the weapon. But for me, I prefer 30s, and I prefer to switch them out. And this is the best one in the 30 category for the fact that you can actually switch it out a little bit faster with the -10 on the loading speed, which is pretty sick. So we'll put the M995 back in the mag and we'll chuck that in the weapon. And this is our HK built now. Let's go and have a look at it here again and have a quick look at what it looks like. So the aerodynamics on the weapon are really good at 79 for a weapon that is this big and, you know, this powerful, will you say. It's got really solid aerodynamics, almost compatible with some SMGs. Not quite, but still very, very cool. Another thing to note when you're using the HK is the fire rate is really fast in comparison to other ARs. So you are going to fire your clip really fast with this weapon. So if you're accurate with it, which sometimes can be hard because it still does have quite a kick, then you're going to be able to kill someone very fast because it is high fire rate AR, which is pretty sweet as long as you hit your shots. And then moving on to the vertical recoil and the horizontal recoil, you can see it looks really nice there. But when we take this into the hideout in a minute, you will see that it still has quite a kick. We've got 44 and 116, which is really good for an AR anyway. But anyway, let's go and try it out in the hideout so you can see how it performs when it's actually in game. So here we are in the hideout now, and let's see how it does perform for us. Let's press F to get the weapon out. Let's make sure it's on fully auto, something I always forget. And we're going to go for the furthest one away here, and I'm going to shoot this directly in the stomach, but I'm not going to do any recoil control whatsoever. It's just going to be shot as the weapon would perform on its own. I'm not fully leveled up when it comes to the recoil, so you need to take that into consideration as well. That definitely makes a difference. The more you level up, the more pinpoint accurate guns become anyway, so grinding the game out is definitely the best way of controlling your recoil on the game. So anyway, let's see how it performs. So you can see it still has a really big kick in it. Even though from the stats of the gun it looks like it should perform a little bit better than that, it actually still has quite the kick. So maybe a gun, in my opinion, to use a little bit later on when you have a little bit more recoil control on your weapons. Because you can see it did kick well above the head, came back down to the head in the end, and we got plenty of headshots. But you are going to need to have a little bit more recoil control when using this weapon. Oh, we're not on fully auto. So when you're shooting it, you're going to want to bring it down yourself, have a little bit more recoil control, and then you're going to be able to get plenty more headshots. Something to keep in mind, it does take a little bit more skill to control the HK. So that's the HK anyway. Hopefully this helps you out if you are trying to build a high-end HK yourself. I'm going to leave that video there anyway. If you liked the video, like the video, subscribe if you want to see more. Thanks for watching as always, and take it easy.